tickle. What is apraxia? Maybe it's a band from the UK, or perhaps a hip new cruise ship, or a new way to cook chicken. I'll have the chicken apraxia, please. If only that were the case. If only I could listen to apraxia's cool new tune or have it for lunch. Apraxia actually is a neurological speech disorder. It means that the brain and mouth doesn't always connect. My name is Alina, and I have childhood apraxia of speech. Let me begin with my story. At 2, I was adopted from Russia. At 4, diagnosed with childhood apraxia of speech. At 5, my mom was called into my school to meet with a literacy specialist. Upon meeting this expert, she was advised that I most likely would never learn to read. At a subsequent IEP meeting, my mom was advised that my prognosis was to be barely a C student. Thinking I might never read, my mom cried for weeks until she realized that however well-meaning these experts were, they didn't know me, and they were not going to create my destiny. So she stopped crying and began to teach me how to read, assigned me daily mommy homework, and record 2 TED Talks about growth mindset and grit. Before I went to school each day, my mom would remind me that how smart I was, and we celebrated every accomplishment, no matter how small. Simply put, my mom is determined to help me become the grittiest kid around. Of course, I had no knowledge of any of this. I was just a 5-year-old girl hoping I would get cheese in my lunch. But every time she gave me mommy homework, I wondered, what had I done wrong? I now realize it was to build my confidence. She would make me focus on my strengths in math and critical thinking skills, giving me extra math problems, rather than focusing on my weaknesses in writing and organization. Her goal wasn't for me to be the best in the class. Her goal was for me to be the best version of me. At 8, I was only about 50% understandable. This made it hard to join groups and activities, as I was seen as the girl who no one could understand. Having apraxia is like navigating a challenging labyrinth where unkind words, mockery, and mistreatment constantly lurk, testing your resilience. The most common phrases I would hear were, "Could you just speak English?" and "You sound so weird, no one can understand you." This really hurt. Yet, I never thought of myself as the weird girl. I knew I wasn't normal, but I was unique. And for the longest time, that worked for me. I had so many people in my life that cherished me and worked to hear my voice. However, as I did get older, I did wish I felt like I was normal. Even now, I wish I knew what normal felt like. Yet, normal definitely did not get me here speaking with you all today. However, there was always this one place of refuge. Each week, I would be pulled out of class to attend speech class. This allowed me to feel as if I was part of a special community. This community was made up of others like me that weren't normal. They all had different challenges and struggles, and we all seemed to work together. And no one ever made me feel less than. We played countless games, have you known, and enjoyed silly inside jokes. And I never realized until much later how meaningful these sessions were to me. Not only my speech development, but to my social and mental health as well. We were like a small group of misfit toys that had found a safe and accepting place where we didn't feel like outcasts. As years go on, seeing one by one graduating speaks, it gave me the hope that one day I would be able to graduate speaks too. I told my mom, the day I graduate from speech class, I want a banner and balloons and a big, yummy cake. The cake was important. I had this vision that I would walk into my grandparents' house and everyone would be cheering and clapping and I would finally be done. I had this dream for many years. In early March of 2020, I was called into my speech teacher's office. Several teachers and my mom were in attendance. They told me what I always wanted to hear. I have graduated. Finally, the day has come. But I wasn't feeling the excitement that I thought I would be feeling. In fact, I felt kind of confused. I wasn't sure what my school life would be without speech. I'd always had it. I never expected to not go into high school without needing to take speech classes. This wasn't the celebration I had dreamt of. I was leaving the community that I had always known for many years. At 14, during the pandemic, I started a new high school where I wanted to shed any previous notions of being labeled as the one with the weird voice. I aimed for a fresh beginning, a chance to establish a new identity. However, I realized I needed to go back to speech in the middle of my freshman year, struggling with the realization that apraxia is the gift that keeps on giving, as it will always be a lifelong battle. So, frustrated with this, I looked for a support group for apraxia, or anyone with a hidden disability. I figured I could find one, as my mom had a few Facebook support groups for for parents with kids with apraxia. I figured there must be one for kids or teens who are going through the same struggle. Yet, I found none. Now, it might be easier and less embarrassing to say after not finding a support group, I created my own. However, there's a couple missing parts. It's actually a funny story. It was spring of 2022. I was going on my first date at the end of my sophomore year when I realized I couldn't say my date's name. The name had 2 R's in it, and R's are my nemesis. I called up my speech teacher and we practiced his name for 10 minutes. As a thank you, my mom sent her a piece I had written about apraxia. So my speech teacher then sent it to all of her clients. And within 3 hours, still on my date, I got an email from a teacher at my school. She wanted to chat about her 4-year-old daughter who was just diagnosed with apraxia. She wanted to know what her daughter's future might look like. That conversation was what changed it all for me. That night, I told my mom someone needed to build a community that helps kids and teens with apraxia or any hidden disability to help them know that their future is bright and that there is hope for them. A place where they can feel heard and know that they are not alone. My mom gave me her luck. So in July of 2022, I started Young Able Voices, a peer-to-peer support group for kids and teens with hidden disabilities to never feel isolated again. When I was looking for a support group to talk to, and I couldn't find any, the question that came to mind was, why were there support groups for parents and not kids with a hidden disability? Where is our support? Growing up, I never wanted my praxis to define me. And I thought that meant not talking about it and not allowing it to exist. Even though there were other kids working on speech, we never talked about our struggles. I honestly felt like we didn't think we could. I didn't talk about my struggles with my friends or even family until I was in high school. I asked during a weekly chat for Young Able Voices to the kids and teens why this was the only support group they could find. We came up with that we don't often know about others with hidden disabilities that are thriving in the adulthood. Now that are struggling with the same struggles we have now. Growing up, many kids looked up to celebrities and to connect with them and see a really cool future ahead of them. However, there wasn't a celebrity that we could really connect with to see that our future was bright or give us hope for a bright future. We realized there is a lack of representation for us with hidden disabilities. And because there's a lack of representation, we feel we should keep our hidden disability to ourselves. Having a disability, especially a hidden one, is something that most people don't talk about. It would be so nice to see a celebrity talk about her praxis or his dyslexia, as this would help to normalize our challenges and help the normal kids in our classes understand that we aren't weird, but just a little different. And best of all, it would help us all to realize that our futures are indeed bright. I, myself, can't wait till the first apraxia kid holds a national office, or stars in her first movie, or even a movie about apraxia. Now, you may be wondering, how can someone that doesn't have apraxia or a hidden disability help those in the community? If I could offer a single piece of guidance to you all here that I wish my peers had understood when I was younger, is that everyone has different strengths. And just because someone in the class or on the team seems a little bit different, that person is doing their absolute best to fit in, and that they would really love to be your friend. And for the parents out there, I hope you passed along this message. Creating this community has been an amazing experience. Building each other up and feeding upon each other's strength and energy, striving to nurture the flame of hope within our community, knowing that even the smallest flicker can ignite a roaring fire of potential and change. Hope reminds us that we are not defined by others' expectations or limitations imposed upon us. It empowers us to challenge the status quo, defy the odds, and carve our own path towards success. I want everyone to realize that they have a bright future ahead of them, and communities will help them not feel alone, share their struggles, and celebrate their success. Thank you.